We're live, we're back. The Indian women's team is back after a 5-month long break. We've got Neha Shetty, who we haven't seen since the 17th of March, the highs of the 17th of March, of course. And Jeet, hi, as usual, with us. We will be previewing India versus South Africa. Sorry for that stutter over there. Guys, let's start with Neha first. How's everything? IPL khatam ho gaya, WPL ke baad abhi World Cup shuru ho gaya. We haven't seen a lot of you in the recent past. How's everything with you?
Hi Akshay, hi Jeet. Absolutely honored to be back on cricket.com and great coverage, on for the IPL and the World Cup that's happening now. But yeah, the excitement is very much present because we have the India versus South Africa series, something we have waited for long. The last time we played South Africa was very traumatic, way back in 2021, and there's a lot of wrongs that we need to get right. And yeah, no better series than this one, I suppose.
100% could not agree with you more there. The toss is in a bit, of course. 1:30 is when play is expected to begin. So 1 o'clock toss time as usual. Jeet bhai, kya lag raha hai boss? Bangalore mein to thoda bahut barish ka mahal hai. We saw the board's president 11 fixture also not really getting a lot of action over there. But hopefully we get to see a proper 100 over encounter tonight.
From the time I spent over there for the 2 months, it felt quite okay. I mean, there were a lot of reports of a lot of forecasts of rain, hampering all these days and everything, the yellow alert and everything, but nothing happened. So I think it's safe to ignore the weather altogether and let's hope that we do get a game. I believe we will, yeah. It should not be an issue.
Just in time. Yeah, let's hope it's not much of an issue there, of course. In terms of the 11s and all of that, we'll have to wait for the toss update and what happens there. More often than not, you see teams opting to chase here in Bangalore, especially given the pitch, given the surface on offer and all of that. But Neha, it's been over 5 months since India last played in ODI. And the last time around when India did play, Richa Ghosh was sort of tried up top. We saw a few changes here and there in terms of names. Now the WPL's happened. Potentially, we could see a lot of new names also coming in because the squad already has seen new entrants. Not new entrants technically, but you've seen the likes of Arundhati Reddy making a comeback into the Indian setup. She's been included in the squad. There are a few more names over there. Priya Punya comes to my mind. I'm not sure if she's a part of both ODIs and T20Is or if it's just one of the two. But again, all right, Samijit Singh Gupta directly going over there. Will Priya Punya open for India? Seedha matlab Shefali, Smriti sabko hatao. But again, excited for the names coming in because WPL has definitely played a role for some of them, if not a lot.
Definitely. I think the WPL has been that catalyst, to kind of elevate the status for a lot of these players. They were quietly doing their job, diligently, scoring those runs, taking those wickets in the domestic circuit. But it's like the WPL just gave them a new platform, to for everyone to see. So in that sense, it's very refreshing to see performances getting rewarded. You're performing well in domestic, you're performing well in WPL, you actually stand a chance to make it into the Indian team. I think the best case study and someone we've discussed for far too long has to be Asha Shobna. She played supremely well in that Bangladesh series as well, and the iconic celebration and everything. Right, it just speaks for itself. So this time we do see a lot of new names coming in. And to answer the question, will Priya Punya open for India? Well, that might be a little of a stretch because you have Smriti Mandhana and Shefali Verma. They're definitely your starters, right, in that playing 11. So we do have a lot of options. Problems of abundance are like always ideal and something we would prefer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a happy problem over there, Jeet. In fact, as many as 4 RCBNs could potentially be playing tonight for India in Bangalore. There's Smriti, there's Shriyanka, there's Asha, and of course, Renuka Singh Thakur as well. By the way, there is an update from the middle. India have won the toss and opted to bat first. Interesting. Probably again, Jeet, do you think rain factor could potentially have played a role here? Because usually you see teams, I mean, when it's rain or when it's something like that, DLS के चक्कर में chase ही prefer करते हैं वहाँ पे भी. What do you think? यहाँ पे क्या logic है?
Yeah, I think it's not considering the rain factor because, like you mentioned, teams generally prefer to chase if they know there is going to be a rain threat. So I think they believe they're going to get a full game over here. I haven't seen the pitch, so I believe that they know a lot about the pitch and they think batting first is the best way to go about it. So I'd rather trust them. But just to come back to that RCB point, there is the fifth one as well, which is an ex-RCB player who happens to be South Africa's coach, Dilip du Preez. So he's also there. So he also makes a comeback to his home ground. But yeah, I think it's a fair toss. I would have wanted India to do this anyway and then, defend whatever total they are able to get with the spin-heavy attack that they should have. So I'm assuming they would have only fielded 2 pacers because I believe Pooja Vastrapkar also has had injury concerns coming into this tournament. So there is an outside chance that maybe even Arundhati Reddy might start alongside Renata Singh, but we'll just wait for the playing 11s to confirm that.
I mean, slowly we are getting a few updates. Nadine de Klerk is not featuring for South Africa.
Oh,
Apparently, she's
oh.
also going through a minor injury. Marizanne Kapp is set to play only as a batter for due to workload management. Apparently, she's also had a minor back injury post the Sri Lanka series. So both won't be bowling for South Africa. That will definitely leave them very short on bowling resources there. And Neha, coming to South Africa, they played Sri Lanka in April. Before that, they played Australia in Feb. Chloe Tryon's already they're already going to miss her services. She's already sort of been ruled out. All in all, this does not seem a full strength 11 clearly for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, South Africa is going through their fair share of struggles. We see this whole transition period that's happening. We have Laura Wolvaardt as skipper. It's the dawn of a new era. But then with crucial players missing out, it's far from ideal. Chloe Tryon is something a name that did come up in yesterday's presser as well. And Laura was mentioning how it's a big loss. And then you don't have Lara Goodall. Now you're mentioning Nadine de Klerk won't be bowling. Marizanne Kapp, who has troubled the Indian batters with her supreme pace, is also not. So it's definitely problems of plenty. But then when I was just looking, at the past series as well, South Africa is definitely going to miss the services of Shabnam Ismail, right? Now she again always manages to get that one up against India, and her not being there is also a big loss. But all in all, I think South Africa needs some time to just get into the groove, get their processes right, and it may not give them immediate results. But they need to trust Laura Wolvaardt, the captain, and just kind of see, how they can ease in these new set of players, and yeah, just see how it goes, I suppose.
100%. Meanwhile, two caps have been awarded. Asha Shobna is making a debut for India, and it's Anneli Dirksen. Hopefully, I'm getting the pronunciation right. Also handed a cap over there. She is in place of Nadine de Klerk. Will most likely slot in the middle order. Is medium pace bowling all rounder over there. But Jeet, again, same question to you in terms of South Africa's side. Unfortunately, it's like the perfect storm where everything that could go wrong has been going wrong for them. Now with all these injuries, they are also in some sort of a transitional phase, so to say. There are a few players who've retired last year. Now they are blooding in some youngsters, but does not inspire a lot of confidence. This 11, does it?
Yeah, the last time these two teams faced each other was way back in 2022 in the ODI World Cup. And the South Africa back then versus South Africa now are two very different entities. There's a huge, huge difference between the quality of the sides that played back then and the ones that will be featuring over here. So, yeah, of course, there is no Mignon du Preez, Danny Van de Kirk. I mean, we all know what happened there. Brazil Lee's gone, Shabnam Ismail is retired. And of course, there is Chloe Chan who's missing out due to the injury. So, in all departments, they are found or they would be found wanting because there are too many gaps right now. Because you look at the pace attack, and Marizanne Kapp was the key. Nadine de Klerk was another very, very experienced pacer. So they would have relied upon her as well. Now, without them, there is going to be a big challenge because, of course, there is Ayaboga Khaka, there is Masawata Class, whom I'm not a huge fan of. So they'll have to, of course, rely now on, like you mentioned, Anneli Dirksen, who's going to be featuring. So it already looks quite weakened right now in the absence of Nadine de Klerk and Cap just playing purely as a batter. So they'll have a lot of issues. But I believe even the spin department has got quite a few issues as well, with only Nonkululeko Laba being the key spinner. So I believe Delmi Tucker might feature in the playing 11. I don't see how maybe Nondomiso Stangasi is going to get a nod because, of course, Tucker can chip in with the bat as well. So in all departments, they've got significant gaps right now, and you would probably have wanted them to kind of fill those gaps heading into the T20 World Cup. But the injury concerns have come at the worst possible time for them. But let's see, it's still the first game of the series, so there is T20 as to cap it off with. So hopefully, some of the players will be fit and back in contention.
By the way, I don't know if Jeet will be happy with some of the names he's going to hear there in the 11. Delmi Tucker is not featuring for South Africa. Let's have the playing 11 out for South Africa. It is Shangase, in fact, who has made it into the playing 11. Fair to say, in place of Tucker over there. But Jeet, again, thoughts on the 11. It is, of course, Laura, Tasman Pitts. The top order, that way, the top 4, top 5 feels fairly settled. These are the names. These are your usual suspects. It's what happens after number 5 where you think, oh my goodness, kya lag raha hai boss yahan pe?
So, of course, Nadine de Klerk is a huge miss. Hence, Anneli Dirksen comes loose, very, very untested for South Africa in every format. That's why I was actually expecting Delmi Tucker to actually start. But, of course, they've opted for the off-spin of Nandumiso Shangasi. So it's going to be a huge issue because the batting pretty much ends at number 5. And in between also, they've got Tasman Brits, who is very agricultural for this format of the game with her batting technique. There is Sune Luus, who has faded significantly over the number of years. So a lot relies, of course, on Laura Wolvaardt and Marizanne Kapp. Anika Bosch has the potential, but even she has been playing purely as a batter for a long time now, just like Sune Luus. Her role has been restricted to batting. So it's again a lot relies upon Wolvaardt to come good, Marizanne Kapp to come good. If they lose 2 or 3 early wickets, then I think the game would be almost gone because there is not a lot of promise, a lot of experience that follows Marizanne Kapp, and that's where a huge test lies for them.
All right, interesting. Meanwhile, Neha, let's come to the Indian 11 as well first right now because Dayalan Hemlata is making a comeback straight into the 11. Shriyanka Patil misses out in her home ground. It is Asha Shobna making a debut. So the spin trio, so to say, will comprise of Asha Shobna, Radha Yadav and Deepti Sharma. We did sort of speak of it. Jeet had mentioned that Hemlata could potentially have an outside into making the 11. Did you see that happening at the cost of Shriyanka Patil, given what she's added? I mean, given how she's added value both with the bat and ball, and of course home surface and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I did not see this coming. Like, Diana Hemlata has been impressive. I mean, we'll give that to her. In the WPL, we saw that performance versus Mumbai, and we thought, she'd almost convert to 100 and everything, but that didn't happen. And even in the series, versus Bangladesh, batting in Jemima's position at number 3, she was actually, performing really well. But see, I'm very surprised they didn't want to go with Shriyanka. I mean, where would you fit her here, right? So that seems like a little bit of a surprise, but all in all, I think it does look like a settled playing 11, right? Because you have Jenny coming in at 3, it gives you a lot of stability in that middle order. Harmanpreet playing at her spot of number 4, and Hemlata, just giving a little bit of impetus there, and Richa Ghosh is, playing at the spot that we want her to play, because at number 3 just felt like maybe that's not using her to the best of her capabilities, although she produced some memorable performances. But yeah, I think I'd still say it's a settled playing 11, and we're looking in good shape here.
Fair enough there. And again, Jeet, in terms of the Indian 11, it's good that it's fairly settled. Most of the players over there pick themselves, almost 8 to 9 of them. It's only those 1 or 2 key spots where सोचना था कि boss किसको खिलाना है, whether Asha Shobna or Arundhati Reddy or Saika Shah. That was one bone of contention. The other supposedly, seemingly bone of contention is कि भाई Shriyanka Patil के बल्ले खिलाना. I for one, am surprised. Everyone, of course, all of our viewers know my bias, and no, I'll refuse to address the former, but I am sad for sure, not upset or anything. I just hope it is the right call. They would have looked at the surface. They know what works for them. But Jeet, all in all, the 11 seems to be looking good, right? Like, this is probably India's best 11 that way, barring 1 or 2 tweaks based on conditions.
It's a decent 11. So one thing, of course, that I can pick up from this is they've got 5 bowling options. They'll have to squeeze out 10 overs from each of them. If required, of course, there is Shafali Verma, there is Harmanpreet Kaur, and Dayalan Hemlata, if required. But besides that, they'll have to bank upon all these 5 primary bowlers that they've got. 2 pacers also is very, very expected in the Indian conditions. So that's not surprising either. So as far as even Asha Shobna is concerned, at least the good thing over here is that India have got the variety. I know it has come in the place of Shriyanka Patil, who has been hard done by, but you can understand that at least India have got the well-rounded attack. The spin plays a huge part over here in these kind of conditions. So you've got all the options. You've got left arm spin and Radha Yadav. You've got Deepti Sharma chipping in with her off spin, and of course Asha Shobna. So I'm actually more than happy to see Shobna actually come in. Fine, Shriyanka sits out. No worries, that's fine. Maybe she'll have a part to play later on in the series, or maybe even in the T20 series. But all in all, fair squad. As of now, it's still not jump the gun and say who's going to bat at number 3. For all we know, Richa Ghosh might as well walk into number 3. I don't know for sure. We could even have Dayalan Hemlata walking in number 3. Realistically, of course, it has to be Jemima, but India being India, koi bharosa nahi hai till the time I actually watch the number 3 batter walking out. So a good squad, more than happy. If I stack up the 2 playing 11s, of course, India looks a lot more stronger right now.
Oh, for sure. India, in all likelihood, start favourites, and not just because they're the home side. They are fielding in what can be deemed or what can be termed as a full strength 11, and that really can't be said about South Africa. But of course, that number 3 conundrum is something they'll have to look at, and it's not even an actual problem. It's a problem that they've inflicted on themselves there, Neha. Like, there was absolutely no reason. to sort of, promote Richa Ghosh and make a number three batter out of her. She's flourished, she's thrived in the number six position. Jemmy has made the number three position her own with her ability to, graft runs, to milk runs, to also get those bounties when needed. You want to believe that Richa's not coming at a number three tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really be hoping for that because Jemima just, gives me a lot of confidence as that stable number three. And even if she's coming at four, that would still be fine. But then what does it mean to Harmanpreet Kaur's batting position? Does she come in at five? Because we've seen that tendency of her to, take her time to settle in. Then that will again accumulate the dot balls. Will that affect the eventual score and everything, right? So it's a lot of things that has to be taken into consideration. But probably, the rationale for getting Richa in at number three at that point is, in case we lose one of those openers early on, maybe she can, offset it with her attacking batting. And you're playing Australia, so you're looking at big totals and everything. But besides that, yeah, it just did not honestly make sense. And I think after the WPL, we should just, put in more confidence in Jemima, right? At that number three, number four slot. Because after Mithali Raj, there's this huge vacuum in that middle order. And if someone can fill those big shoes, it definitely has to be Jemima, right?
No, for sure. I mean, goes without saying, even, international players, the quality of Elise Perry, Sophie Devine have gone on record saying she's definitely one to look out for. So hopefully, India also sort of stick to that number six position for her, groom her as a finisher. Not that she can't succeed at number three, it's just that we have a designated number three any which ways. It's the finisher wala role jahan pe we've struggled to find options. When we have one, why do you want to sort of, not play her over there? Another interesting sort of point, Priya Punya is making a way into the squad, of course. And Saumyajit Singh Gupta here strongly feels that Priya Punya should have been slotted at number three. She could have potentially played instead of Hemlata. Jeet, Neha, again, just thoughts on this before we talk about South Africa as well. She's definitely had some sort of I don't know how to put this, but reincarnation probably in her attacking instincts and whatnot. Because I remember Neha and I during the WPL talking about, yeah, Priya Punya and all ho gaya inka time. Abhi, I don't see them making it back, into the Indian setup or even the WPL fold for that matter. But she's definitely sort of, developed those aggressive instincts now, Jeet.
She has, and she's one of the technically correct batters that we've got in India. So it's always good to watch her bat and when she's in action. Even in the warm-up game that they had, she was off to a good start. So I didn't really see her starting. Number three is one of the things I had contemplated, but when you look at the squad, we've got several options to bat number three. Of course, Jelly, the other name that even Richa Ghosh for that matter. So she was down in the picking order. So she's purely going to act as a backup opener if required. Maybe she might play the third ODI if India have sealed the series. But it's good to see how she has come along over the last few probably years, I would say, in terms of her intent with the bat. It has still been up and down, so it's not been entirely convincing either. Where she hasn't gone, gung straight away in the white ball formats in the power play. So we still haven't seen that sort of an impact. But when you compare to the other options that we've got, I think it's a fair shout. It's probably fair to have a back in the mix and have that option open of somebody who can at least provide you with stable starts, if not quick starts. So it's good to see that progress.
Fair point that, and also about this point, there's also a valid point. Yeah, T20 World Cup hai October mein, to kyun ODIs khelna and stuff like that. But it is a multi-format series. There's also an ODI World Cup next year. It's not too far
Exactly.
away, and that World Cup's also happening at home.
At
It's
home.
happening in India. तो might as well play यार. मतलब कोई जरूरत नहीं है कि भाई क्यों खेलना नहीं खेलना, सब खेल लो. जब आ रहे तो सब कुछ खेल लो. पहली इतनी मुश्किल से मैचेस हो रही है, जब हो रहे तो सब साथ में खेलो. I don't think we're complaining about that for sure. We're long way away from complaining कि यार बहुत मैचेस खेल रहे, कम कर दो थोड़ा इतना. I hope we reach a point where we do say something like that. But coming to South Africa now, Sune Luus is a name that Neha also mentioned earlier. Let's start with her on that. She was sort of touted to be the next big thing over there for South Africa, Neha. In fact, even off air, we were discussing where you spoke about how when Dani Wanyeka wasn't available or wasn't sort of, in the greatest of nicks, it was Sune Luus who sort of stepped in both as skipper and also as that leg spinning all-rounder who could bat in the middle order. क्या लग रहा है वहां पे that bowling especially has really gone downhill very quickly?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of decline that Sune Luus has had in the recent years is just unfathomable, right? Because once, touted as this proper successor to Danny Van Nieuwkerk and, someone who could really just step up and deliver every single time the team needed. And she's also proven that with performances. And in fact, even when we had that women's T20 challenge, she was always one of those overseas players who were picked, right? But kya hua? Like, the decline is just very difficult to pinpoint and actually make sure ki kya hua. And even with her captaincy, I was a little iffy when she was made the captain, because there were some decisions that outright did not really make sense, and that's probably why even the management decided to go ahead with Laura Wolvaardt, a younger captain. But here's hoping Sune Luus can kind of find that groove again, because she was going to be that next big thing, but something just maybe the pressure got to her, and being made captain every single time and stepping in probably just put that additional pressure too. But now that she's free of this whole captaincy stuff, I hope she comes good. And the past series have not really given us that entire picture, but I hope this series can be that sort of a start for her.
Jeet, what about you in terms of Lees and that bowling? Because the way you put it, it's like she's forgotten how to bowl.
Yeah, I just feel she has lost all the confidence. And when Dani Van Niekerk was around, at that time she used to bowl in the same game. So they had two wrist spinners who used to operate back then. And she was a terrific spinner. If you look at all the records that South Africa has, Sune Luus probably is amongst the top five in whether T20Is or the ODI. So she's been phenomenal over the years. So I thought once Dani Van Niekerk is out of the picture, Sune Luus's role is going to increase. But then what came alongside that was the burden of leadership. And like Neha mentioned, even I was not convinced with Sune Luus as a skipper, because that tactical side of things were something that didn't really convince me. And then she just stopped bowling altogether. Maybe it was that burden of captaincy, but the odd times when she did actually roll her arm over, she was well off target. She was bowling it very short or very wide. So she had lost all that control that she used to once have. So the bowling part was out of her way completely. So she purely started playing as a batter and as a skipper. And then came her batting itself, which also has declined quite a lot. So I personally believe that she finds herself in a spot where she doesn't even warrant a place in the playing 11. That is how much she has declined, sadly. But let's see, I mean, how it really pans out for her with leadership out of her way, and we can only hope that she can, again be back with the bat and hopefully start rolling her arm over as well. That's what I was actually wanting, South Africa to at least add Seshni Naidu into the squad, or at least have her traveling with the squad. I don't want her to be, of course, plotted into the playing 11 because it's too early, but have that wrist spin option, because right now you're missing that wrist spin option dearly without Dani Van Niekerk and Sune Luus not rolling her arm over. The spin department is very, very short with only Lava in the mix, and of course Chaka and Shangasi chipping in as well. But let's hope maybe this is the series, and now is the time when things start to turn around. The signs haven't been good in the lead up to the series, so I'm not too confident. But she's going to play a vital role, and if she actually wants to stake a claim of being in the 11 as an all rounder, then she has to start performing with two major ICC tournaments on the way.
Just in time. In fact, about Sune Luus, those are big words, yeah. And I want to say harsh, but you sort of see where it's coming from in terms of her probably even moving out of the 11 should they find, better names, or like Jeet said, start blooding in more youngsters, which they've already begun the process of, given the number of retirements they've seen in the last 12 odd months. But again, in terms of the names they've brought in today, Marizanne Kapp isn't going to bowl. She's batting as a pure batter over there. So clearly they are going to be thin on bowling reserves, which was supposed to be the strongest suit entering the series. Now the absence of Nadine de Klerk, the absence of Kapp's bowling, who was in all likelihood going to be the spearhead. What are some key matchups you're looking forward to? Neha, let's start with you, because let's go by what we saw in the IPL of the Chinnaswamy Stadium. Usual batter-friendly surface. We saw scores of 287, 280 and stuff like that as well. Even towards the end, barring that one odd game, if my memory serves me right, the RCB Gujarat game, it was a green surface, a green top. Every other game was a batter-friendly surface. And even that day, the chasing side was able to sort of score runs briskly. Given all of this, what do you think will be sort of some of the key matchups, some of the key players you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, when I was thinking of this before the live started, I was like, Marizanne Kapp versus our openers. It's such an easy one, right? But then now that she's, playing as a pure batter, it really puts me in a spot because I was just looking at their playing 11. And of course, I think Iwonga Kaka, we have seen, how good she has been with that new ball. So probably, her versus the openers and that number three as well. And even someone like Laba, right? Her versus Harmanpreet Kaur and Jemima is, I think, another matchup I'm looking forward to. Both of them kind of, play spin well. Harmanpreet Kaur does blow hot and cold. I do acknowledge that. But, seeing how she kind of gets them out or, if they get the better of her, that is, I think, these are some of the matchups I am definitely looking forward to.
Interesting there. Kapp against our openers was a fairly straightforward one. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that. Why? What happened to Kapp? She's unfortunately suffering from a minor back injury. So, in order to manage her workload, they've decided to sort of, rest at least her bowling abilities. Give her a rest. Kahin na kahin to dena padega. Guys, I've lost a bit of touch with respect to the women's game. Any reason for Kapp not bowling? There you go, Vasant. We have answered that. Kaka versus Shefali Verma, says Jeet Gupta. Again, Kaka is one of their experienced bowlers. After Kapp, it is going to have to be Kaka over there who will have to sort of hold her hand up, Jeet. But some interesting matchups from both sides. Even Asha Shobna against the South African middle order, the inexperienced South African middle order in the Indian subcontinent. That could also be a battle to look forward to.
It can be, but I still believe there is going to be a matchup straight away when South Africa bat. It's going to be Laura Wolvaardt versus Renuka Singh because I thought that Laura Wolvaardt has kind of gotten better against the balls that come back into her. But over the last few months, I've observed the same pattern altogether where she, her head falls over and she gets beaten on the inside edge. So that might as well continue. So that's one of the matches I'm looking forward to. Besides that, of course, Asha Shobna in the middle overs to be very interesting. Radha Yadav has found a mojo as well, which is very, very good to see. And I thought, she's going to be, she was out of the picture with Rajeshwari Gaikwad, having become India's primary left-arm spinner. Then they tried Manat Kashyap, they had Sai Kaishak, they tried so many left-arm spinners, but it's Radha Yadav's back courtesy of a stellar WPL performance. So that's another matchup that I'm looking forward to, post the power play where Radha Yadav operates to the South African right-handers, which is going to be really important. But besides that, from the perspective of Indian batters versus South African pacers, of course, now a lot is going to ride upon Iwonga Kaka in the absence of de Klerk and Kapp, purely playing as a batter. So a lot is going to, come down to Kaka and how she performs. But I'm not sure how much, they are going to rely on Shingasi with the new ball. But, whenever it comes to Smriti Mandhana, you often talk about her struggles in the power play versus off spin. But the point over here being that Smriti Mandhana does struggle against off spin in the power play, but it's only the T20I format. She has that luxury in the ODIs and the tests of taking her time, which she does in the T20Is, where she has to attack the off-spinners, and that is where she falters. So over here, even if Shangasi takes a new ball, which I don't feel is likely, but even if she operates in the parkway, I believe Mandhana should be able to do a decent job. But other than that, yeah, without Cap and de Klerk, I'm worried about how South Africans are going to go against even Shefali Verma because, like you guys mentioned, I was looking at Marizanne Kapp versus Shefali Verma, but it's not looking good right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not looking good for them because it is a very depleted South African bowling attack, a very depleted South African 11, so to say. But again, final thoughts. We are probably a minute and a half away, if not lesser, from live action to begin in Bangalore. For those asking us, ki bhai, mausam ka kya haal hai Bangalore mein? Is everything good? So far, so good. No rainy, no dark clouds hovering around us. But knowing Bangalore, it takes no more than 5 minutes for very, very, very harsh rain to pour. But given the excellent, superior drainage facilities in Bangalore, you would expect a game at least to happen, irrespective of whether it's rain curtailed or not. Huh? But you would want to believe that bhai, game to mil jayega. Final thoughts, prediction time. Neha, let's start with you. Highest run scorer from both sides tonight and winner. Jeet, of course, you go next.
So highest run scorer, I think for India has to be Smriti Mandhana. I know she's been quiet, especially after that latter phase of the WPL. You're like, kya hua? So I think, coming back to Bangalore will, reignite some fire in her and we will see runs from her. And even, yeah, someone like Jemima would do. For South Africa, it's almost like a no-brainer. It has to be Laura Wolvaardt. She's been in great form. We've seen her excel in Sri Lanka, versus Sri Lanka as well. So for me, these have to be my picks. Yeah.
All right, and winner India, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Three India. Oh, okay, fair to say. Jeet, what about you?
Yeah, same thing as far as the winner is concerned. I think it's a no-brainer, or hope for it to be a no-brainer. I hope that that does turn out to be true, unlike the T20 World Cup. But as far as the batters are concerned, for India, I'm tempted to go for Harmanpreet Kaur because I'm not too sure about how the, of course, I mean, no cap and no Nadine declared, but I'm still slightly worried about the Indian openers because I do believe that the ball is going to do a bit with the new ball and in the power play in particular. So if they can survive, then well and good. But I still believe Harmanpreet Kaur is going to have a larger say in the middle overs. So I'll rather go for Harmanpreet for India. And for South Africa, I would go for Marizanne Kapp. Again, I believe under the lights with new ball, Renuka Singh might be able to get Laura Wolvaardt. So potentially there's a matchup right there. But the fact that Marizanne Kapp is purely playing as a batter would have, a lot lesser workload on her. So she should be able to come good with the bat.
Fair enough. Let's see what happens there. I, for one, I want some new names to sort of do well. So I'll just go for Hemlata for India. And a very left field choice. I mean, very left field as in a name that we hardly discuss.
Chapka.
But itna bhi
Tasman Brooks.
Yes, nice.
Let's
Good on
go.
you. I know new ball, she'll also really sort of, she'll also be tested a lot by Renuka, but I am expecting her to come good. Let's see what happens over there. Of course, the game will start or has started already, if I'm not wrong, with probably a couple of balls into live action. Time for us to wrap this review of the first ODI up. And guys, make no mistake, we'll also be back at the end of the game to review the game, to discuss how Tasman Brits proved me right, of course. Goes without saying, this is Akshay Kumar Swamy, of course, signing off with Jeet and Neha. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be doing this throughout the series, so look forward to seeing all of you. Until then, it's a goodbye from us.